Hey guys, Michael here, doing a gameplay video. This is with my Rug Bounce deck versus Green-Red Aggro. So if you guys haven't checked it out, I actually released a updated deck tech for this Rug Bounce deck. So be sure to check that out. Made quite a few hefty changes to it. So if you want to keep up to date on that, I'll link it as an annotation on this video, and you can check that out before watching this. If not, I hope you guys enjoy the match, and let us jump right into it. We are on the play. And exactly where we want to be, and this is actually a perfectly keepable hand. We have a Scry land to start digging for more lands because we don't want to miss our land drops. We have some ramp to get into an overloaded Mizzia Mortars or Keranos, as well as if we happen to play against a more aggressive deck, we can start playing Frostburn Weird rather than our Sylvan Caryatid. If we need to, especially in the control matchup as well, we would rather have Frostburn Weird out there to start applying pressure rather than Sylvan Caryatid. So this is a very keepable hand, and we just want to start hitting some lands. So we scry Breeding Pool to the top because it is a land, and it's perfect for us and gives us access to another color if our Sylvan Caryatids happen to die. But we opt to just play the Stomping Ground and play Sylvan Caryatid. Reason being is we don't want to play Breeding Pool, and we want to give our opponent as little as information as possible. So there's no reason to play Breeding Pool over Stomping Ground. My opponent taps his Temple of Abandon while playing a mountain and plays out an Elvish Mystic to start ramping into his own things. We draw and we pull a Niv-Mizzet Draco Genius, which isn't a great draw, but we do have the ramp at least to hopefully hit it in the near future. So I end up just playing the Breeding Pool untapped and throw out the other Sylvan Caryatid, hopefully hitting a 6th land to either play Niv-Mizzet Draco Genius or overload Mizzia Mortars if he happens to start playing another threat. We don't really have to, though, because we do have Frostburn Weird or Keranos to fall back onto if we happen to miss our land drop, which is a nice thing. But my opponent does play a threat, and he can play Fanatic of Xenagos. Here I pay the tribute just because I am hoping to pull a 6th land to overload Mizzia Mortars and set him back a bit. And we don't want to take any unnecessary damage. At the worst case scenario like this, we did miss our 6th land, so I just opt to use the Mizzia Mortars as a single target spell and kill off the Fanatic to slow him down. And then we also play... Oh no, sorry. Here I actually get Keranos out. Right. I get Keranos out because if he is playing a little bit more of an aggressive deck, I want to get Keranos out there sooner rather than later. Because if we try and get him out later, it will reduce the amount of blockers we have for his creatures. So get Keranos out there, as well as Keranos is able to give us a little bit more advantage and hopefully hit a 6th land drop. My opponent does go quite aggressive, playing a Madcap Skills on his Fanatic of Xenagos and hitting us for a large chunk of damage, and plays out another Elvish Mystic here. On my draw phase, we reveal a Simic Charm thanks to Keranos being able to deal 3 damage to him. Here, I could have done 3 damage to Elvish Mystic, but it was mostly just because I forgot that Keranos actually is able to target creatures and players, which is a pretty huge misplay on my part, because next turn he would have the possibility of overloading Mizzia Mortars on me rather than him. So a little bit of misplay on my part, but it is what it is. Luckily, we didn't get punished for it. So we do draw our Simic Charm, and we just deal 3 damage to him. And here we opt to just Mizzia Mortars his Fanatic, get rid of it, and get a 2-for-1, and kill off the Madcap Skills alongside it, and throw out our Frostburn Weird to make use out of our mana. My opponent then plays a Wild Beastmaster, which is a very interesting choice. I did not really expect that. So for those of you who don't know what it does, it is a rare from Return to Ravnica, and whenever Wild Beastmaster attacks, each other creature you control gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is Wild Beastmaster's power. So definitely an aggressive deck at this point for sure. And so we are on the play of just hopefully buying us time until we can sustain ourselves and clear out our opponent's board. So on my draw phase, I reveal a Temple of Epiphany, which means we get an extra draw, drawing into another land, which is awesome. Hitting those land drops is great. And here I opt to just play the Breeding Pool untapped and play out our Jace. Reason being is we can +1 and still leave up Simic Charm in case he tries to either Gore-Clan Rampage or apply another Madcap Skills on his Wild Beastmaster or some other sort of pump, because here I realize he is playing more of an aggressive version of Green-Red rather than Green-Red monsters. So Jace's works extremely well in this area. So we plus it and hold up the mana with Sylvan Caryatids for Simic Charm. Now here is a little bit of an interesting situation, and it was sort of a confusing one, especially with Cockatrice not, giving stacks or things like that. Like you have to do everything yourself. So here I'll have to explain what exactly happened, and because I had to figure it out a little bit for myself, remembering to call out the Jace triggers and things like that. So how it works out is because both Jace and Wild Beastmaster trigger at the same time when the creatures attack, it applies active player and non-active player priorities, meaning his trigger goes on the stack first, which means my trigger would resolve first since Jace goes on top of that. So the Wild Beastmaster trigger goes on the stack, but since my Jace trigger goes on top of that and resolves first, what that means is that it essentially nullifies the pump that Wildmaster gives. So it'll make Wild Beastmaster a 0/1. So when Wild Beastmaster trigger resolves, it won't give any bonuses to the Elvish Mystic, or the rest of his creatures. Sorry. And in response to his Gorklan Rampager, I actually use the Simic Charm to bounce his Wild Beastmaster back, essentially making him waste his Gorklan Rampager. This took a little bit of explaining to do, and that's why you'll see the numbers going a little bit screwy, and I have to tell him exactly what happens. So what that essentially means as well is that his Elvish Mystics are technically 1 or 0/1s at this point, and I end up just blocking his Frostburn Weird. And he, again, this is one of the problems with Cockatrice in that it doesn't reduce and add power and toughness for you. So Elvish Mystic is technically a 0/1 and doesn't do any damage to Frostburn Weird. I point that out to him because he was a little bit hasty on using his spells in this way and thinking that he could kill off my Frostburn Weird and finish it off. Sadly, that's not the case. So because there was a lot of mix-up and just a little bit of hastiness on his part, I just let him take the Lightning Strike back to his hand and sort of reset that, just sort of as a kind gesture, just because it was a little bit of a misplay. So we untap and we reveal a Courser on top of our library. Again, we just opt to throw 3 damage to his face because we're pretty far ahead at this point, and I'm not too worried about an overloaded Mizzy Mortars because he is playing a more aggressive version. So I wasn't very. I didn't really think that they would play that in their deck. So here we scry, and here we actually have the right amount of mana to play Niv Mizzet, meaning we have way more devotion than we need to get Keranos online to be able to start beating down with him. And once my opponent realizes that, he concedes the game. So yeah, a little bit of clunkiness near the end there. I apologize for that, but hopefully I explained things well enough for you guys, and we come out ahead on that game. So that is game 1, and let us go on to game 2.